Well, hello everybody. My name is Bryan Stevens, and it is my honor to serve this region as the President and CEO of the Hampton Roads Chamber. One of the things that the Chamber does every year is we go on what we used to call interregional visits, where we get as many business leaders, educational leaders, elected officials together, and we visit another region to try to gather best practices and to try to bring those lessons learned back here to Hampton Roads so that Hampton Roads can be the best business community that it can be. We have with us today some individuals who have been on those trips with us. I'd like to introduce them now from my right to left. Mr. Bob Pizzini is with us.
Hey, Bryan.
Dorcas is with us, and our chairman of the board this year, Steve Romine. And to my immediate right is Priscilla Monti, who is the Senior Vice President for Communications and Programs and the person that's overall in charge of putting these programs together for us. So with that, Priscilla, talk a little bit about some of the trips we've recently been on.
Recently, we restarted the interregional visits in 2017 with a trip to Nashville. And the big takeaway from Nashville was the concept of civic furniture, of businesses investing in the infrastructure to promote the regional economy. The next year we went to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is all about regionalism. They have what they call the Allegheny Conference, which is 10 counties working together to promote the economy of the region. The mayor of Pittsburgh has a slogan that says, if it's not for all, it's not for us. And then the last one we went on was in 2019. We went to Raleigh-Durham and the Research Triangle. And again, we looked at regionalism, but with maintaining the individuality. So Raleigh is the business center and the government center. Durham has maintained this thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem, and the Research Triangle is still just that, biomedical and tech research, and all three economies are thriving, but the region is growing as a whole. This year, we are going to Denver for our leadership exchange. So, looking at our three wonderful delegates here today, thank you for coming and doing this with us. So, we'll start with Steve. Steve, which trips have you been on?
I've been on quite a few going back probably 15, 20 years. One was the IRV. One I recall way back was San Francisco, and Shep Miller was there. I remember we commandeered a bus and went up into Napa Valley on one Saturday to take a break, and we had a good group of people, a lot of mayors there as well. So it was an incredible trip. Another trip, I remember we were in Cincinnati. And Clint DeMuth and I went out and with some other people too, and we actually were able to ride the mechanical bull. So we were building social capital in the back of the mechanical bull.
There we go.
So those were just two trips because I've been a veteran a lot, like Dorcas, and been around for a while.
And Dorcas, how about you? Which ones stand out for you?
There are two that stand out for me. San Diego, because of their transportation system and their overall approach to family entertainment as well as economic growth. And they made sure they had a lot of partners in that growth and activity. And that's the big thing, that regionalization that we look at. And the other one probably was Salt Lake City. They were preparing for the Olympics, bringing in rapid transit, and they had to terminate their director. They hired another director who was a business organizer and a community organizer, and the area came together in a remarkable regional way to make it happen. And it was a very, very exciting thing for us.
Bob, how about you?
The two that I've been on are two that you mentioned. So Nashville was my first trip, and then unfortunately I missed the Pittsburgh trip, but then I went to Raleigh-Durham in 2019 as well.
Oh, that's great. We appreciate your participation in that. Are there any lessons learned that really jumped out? I know, Dorcas, you were talking about some things you learned in San Diego, but are there any other lessons that you learned on these trips that you'd like to share with the audience?
For sure, I'll start with Nashville. Being a high school hockey coach and an avid hockey fan, the Nashville Predators, who have won 2 or 3 Stanley Cups, they're fairly new to the NHL, and they were a huge boost to the economy of Nashville and really part of the resurgence of Nashville. Now the hockey team is 23 years old, which sounds like they've been around for a long time, but when you look at the history of the NHL, that's not very long. But that hockey team was key and continues to be key today to the revitalization of that economy and the thriving of that economy. And we went and saw a hockey game. They played the Blackhawks, my team. So
It was a fun time. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah. So that stands out.
Dorcas, how about you? Any?
Yes, Pittsburgh stands out because it was amazing, the culture of regionalization. The counties, the city, they viewed themselves as one entity, and the mayor's slogan said it all. It wasn't just words, it was action. And in doing that, that was the greatest lesson. You look at Hampton Roads and our ability to cooperate and grow together. We've got a long ways to go,
Yeah.
but the example was spectacular.
Fantastic. And Steve, anything that jumps out at you?
Well, I think regionalism has been a theme for a long time on our trips, trying to figure out how to work together because we have multiple cities, counties, and towns around here. And I think that's been a theme that's been pretty consistent throughout. I guess the other thing I would note, and Pittsburgh was a good example, Dorcas, of overcoming. They were able to overcome the demise of the steel industry. And there's been other examples in other cities where they had a problem, and the problem helped them coalesce and overcome. I know we've got challenges here in Hampton Roads that we are trying to address as well.
And in two of the visits, both in Raleigh and in Pittsburgh, we met some courageous leaders. It wasn't the sitting executives, it was the leaders who were in place 10 years prior, that we brought them in and they talked about making those courageous decisions, going against referendum votes, not worrying about their next election,
Right.
but instead saying, this is what's best for the region long-term, and they were right.
Absolutely. Steve, why is it important for you to be part of this delegation and to go to Denver?
Well, I think we've renamed this thing to a leadership exchange.
That's right.
And I think that's really valid. I think we want the brightest and best in our leaders in this area to really go on this trip to see firsthand what other localities are doing. And again, you mentioned in your beginning comments about best practices. We always come away with some best practices. The challenge for us is to execute, come back, and how do we make an impact? How do we make a change?
Absolutely. Dorcas, how about you?
I think Steve nailed it. That's what it's all about. You have to, and of course, it helps you think differently. It makes you perhaps adjust your thinking into a different dimension. And as we have elected public officials with us, that's part of our objective, for them to accomplish personal growth along with us.
Yeah, open your aperture a little bit, see how other regions are doing things, and maybe we can do a little better here. How about you, Bob?
As a business owner in Virginia Beach, I kind of look at the tactical playing field and, again, look at those best practices and then take my business approach to the next level. How can I have a positive influence to our region? How can these practices that we're seeing on the ground apply at a broader level? And again, how can I help influence that?
Absolutely.
We work very hard for each trip to build an agenda that will target the needs of our region, but also the needs of our business leaders. So we try and match up. Do we have a regional executive in Denver that will talk transportation? And so we try to match them up. But a big part of these trips is the social capital.
Absolutely.
I can build the best agenda ever, but the real takeaway is building that camaraderie. Steve, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the big advantages I've seen over time is not only the networking, but getting to know people on a personal level. And Dorcas mentioned our regional leaders. We really do try to encourage our mayors and our chairs to attend. And just selfishly in my business, I'm an attorney and I practice in front of these people for zoning permits and approvals. It's always nice to have a personal connection, and even if I already have one, to deepen that connection in that kind of setting.
Absolutely.
Very valuable. So.
It's exciting to me because it helps me broaden our range of thinking. It also is exciting to meet new people who are making a difference in the region. I'm a talent scout for the boards that I serve on in the community, in public and civic. And guess what? You meet a lot of talent, and these are people you want to find where they're engaged, how they can be better supporters in the community, and also a nice cadre of recruits for future positions. The personal interest is fabulous, getting to know someone, sharing the thoughts, and is it about business? Well, it's all about being personal first. If you're comfortable with the personal, the business becomes easier.
I don't think I could add much to what's been said because they hit the nail right on the head. Names that you've heard, people that you've heard of, the president of Steel, for example, who I had a bus ride with and a long discussion with Bjorn, just those interactions. Felicia Blow, who I met for the first time, I think on a bus ride down in Nashville, and now we serve together on the DE&I committee. So, I was very comfortable going into the committee, knowing that familiar faces were there and people that I already know that we have very common interests. So building those relationships and those bonds are key.
Well, and it's nice because the people who are attracted to these events and who tend to sign up are the ones who want to change the region, who want to make it better. Not necessarily change it, make it better and improve. And so everybody is looking to help. It's a nice group.
Yeah, well, speaking of improving the region, we've got 4 focus areas this year that we're going to take a deep dive into. 1 is building regional unity. 2 is economic development and creating new jobs, which we need to do here in Hampton Roads. 3 is grow, retain, and attract talent, which is so important. And of course, 4th is advancing regional infrastructure. Out of those 4 focus areas that we're really going to take a hard look at and how Denver does it, what's most important to you and what are you going to be looking for in that particular area? Steve, let's start with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that before today, and I think for us, business development is job one. I know workforce development's critical. People are trying to attract talent, and that's a subset, I think, of the overall focus of business development. So what does business development mean? What does that look like? How do we use our assets to maximize that and keep our talent here and to grow jobs, not only retain, but also to grow new business to the region, because we're improving our infrastructure. There's a lot of reasons why people should want to locate in Hampton Roads.
Absolutely. Dorcas?
Well, it works in my mind in 2 ways. We've heard from educators who specialize in workforce to get talent and to get business, and I was just in West Virginia where they don't understand that if you want to grow and have business, you better have an infrastructure and you better have talent.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do to attract the talent? You make sure the educational resources are there to meet needs of business so that you can partner with those industries that might come your way to grow. And that was the most exciting part to me. I heard the combination not only of the economic development issue being regional, because there's something for everyone. We can't fight each other over the same client or customer. And you also have to be able to partner with those from the educational perspective to meet the demands of a changing economy and workforce. And that was quite exciting.
Absolutely. And Bob, your thoughts?
For me, it's grow, retain, and attract talent. Again, I have 35 people on my team, and you want to keep your high performers on the team for as long as you can. And finding those high performers is different than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. The baby boomer population is largely on their way out of the workforce to be replaced by the millennial population, and the thoughts, needs, wants, climate, culture of the workplace are completely different with the millennial workforce. So understanding their wants and needs and creating a culture that will attract them is kind of what I hope to advance for our region.
Part of that attraction is creating a place, and the reason for that place, all the dimensions of that attract. And in your business, particularly being at the oceanfront entertainment type business, is something that's attractive to people who want to be at a place that has that.
Yeah, there's the exterior, but then there's the cultural dynamic inside.
Absolutely.
The culture is really owned by everybody on the team.
And one of the things we will learn when we're out in Denver is they have created a sense of place as being the outdoor world. Everything is outdoors. Well, you know what? We've got beautiful outdoors here too. And so in my mind, we beat their outdoors, and so we need to be marketing that. We need to be selling that. And if that's what's going to attract this workforce, we need to get on it and show the world what we have.
That's a great point. Great point.
Steve, any final thoughts before I turn over to Priscilla to tell people how they can get involved?
I would just encourage you to look at the dates and the agenda, and if you have the time to do it, it's well worth the investment. You'll get a high return on investment, so we'd love to have you. And it's important to have a wide variety of people from a lot of different industries, and so I just encourage you to consider it and to sign up.
Dorcas?
Absolutely. It's a way to grow. Go back to school. You're going to learn from a different perspective. You're going to learn from professionals in the field. You're going to learn from business and industry and regional leaders how to get it done.
Bob?
I think you said it. The professional aspect of this, the professional growth, is critical. If you look for it, if that's what you want to take away from this trip, it's there. And then the personal side of it is fun as well. I understand there's some good entertainment lined up, and you haven't let us down so far. So.
It's a secret. You have to sign up for me to tell you what we're doing. No.
Well, Priscilla, why don't you tell us the dates and
Absolutely.
how people can get involved?
October 18th through 20th, we will be going to Colorado, to Denver primarily. We will be exploring the Red Rocks area as well, which is a big, look at how excited they all got. They're like, ooh. Yeah.
I've been there before, yeah.
And it will be a wonderful visit. So if you'd like to register, just go to our website, hamptonroadschamber.com/events, and you can just do it that way, or feel free to contact me, Monti at hrchamber.com. We would welcome you to join us, and we're always looking for sponsors.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this latest edition of Hampton Roads Chamber Chat. There'll be another one coming up in a couple of weeks, and again, thank you very much for watching.